Now, those of you quite observant may notice that we are slightly lacking in beardish today. Unfortunately, our illustrious co-partner is Tom has had a change today, so we had to jump out. So I'm jumping in at the last minute for our lovely coding time session with MonoGame. So, lots to talk about, lots to do. Not going to try and fix some issues these days. We're actually trying to address a quite critical problem today where Google have changed their policies to actually have a new requirement. So you have to have a 16K page limit size on your projects, which means also updating your SDKs, updating your dependencies. Lots of fun and frolic to do. I've had to do this with my work in many other projects and get them updated and make sure Google updates them. Fun fact as well is that even if you've updated your production releases, if you've got any lingering sort of open test or closed test or other test builds around, Google will pick up on those too, and there's no way to delete them other than getting rid of the tracking so you can get around to update them. So there are some questions in, but one thing I want to kick off first is this. So all my screens are over here. So I'm going to throw this up now that for these new shows, we've got an official Discord chat set up. So this allows you to ask questions off stream about things that have happened on the stream, and we'll try to get back to those quickly. Because obviously, that if you're not here on the day and the minute and things are happening, then you're going to miss out. So this channel is out there now if you want to scan and get it and be on the stream for anyone else later on. It's on our public Discord server. You can still ask questions later if you have having issues or whatnot. But anyway, so moving on. What are we doing? So here we go. And I noticed myself that I forgot to share my screen before starting. There we go. Nope, and for this one, I'm going to have to share system audio. And you will see why later on. So, okay, right. What are we talking about? Let's bring up good old Notepad. No, I set it up beforehand, try and make bigger. So, okay. So, what we're doing today now is a case of in the current 3.8.4 release that's out now. It doesn't comply with Google policy on this, and there's a deadline that's fast looming. It's somewhere between the end of November and December. They keep changing their minds what it is. It's all related to... No. This. There we go. Some nice summary information what we go to. If we look at this case of... so 1st of November, you've got to have your apps updated and they've got to be published in the store by then. There are extensions to this, so you can apply for extension. I've not particularly heard of anyone getting turned down, but it's one of those things. Anyway, this is why we're here today. So MonoGame, as it stands, doesn't comply. However, the 3.8.5 release does contain fixes for this. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to walk through creating a brand new MonoGame release amongst fun things, and then we're going to look at some issues and things that we're going to try and do to fix and test it. And for those who are interested, they're actually able to look at what's going on. So we're going to look at creating the release first. So you'll be able to see the units that I can't spell, even on live session I can't spell. Hey. We're going to set it then. While that's going now, the release process does take some time. It may be anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour. Hopefully it's not going to run over an hour, else we're going to run out of time. Or you'll see the release come up. We can do some local testing and see what we want to do. We're going to create a test project from templates based on 3.8.4. And I realise now I do need to actually update some things, so you'll be able to see what those are. We're then also going to then need to prove it's not compliant. Then hopefully we're going to update our project to now the new 3.8.4.1 release, we're going to call it, and then we'll test again to show it works. See what goes on, see what happens. Things go funky when they go live. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. So, switching over here, here's our MonoGame repository. We have already started work behind the scenes. We've created a branch, which is including all the cherry-pick fixes from our current development release to backport into the 3.8.4. Because obviously, we don't want to just give people the 3.8.5 preview as it stands, because there's still things we're working on, still things we're trying to fix. Even though it has some of these fixes in, they're not ready. We're working fast and hard to try and get it in. We had another powwow this week, seeing what we can do to try to accelerate that, because Tom's going live coding. I believe he may be on tomorrow, but don't hold me to that. To go and find out what all the things that are going on and what they can do. Anyway, I always like to do things completely clean, so you can just see exactly how the cake is made, as it were, with MonoGame. So I'm actually going to clone this repository fresh. Now this is my MonoGame folder. All my MonoGame stuff is in there. Let's see, and I'm using Tortoise Git. Tom likes to use Git commands. I like GUIs. It's just how I roll. Alright, now, so that's going to clone out. Whoop, no, over here. There you go. That's going to clone out the project. It's a recursive checkout because we're also checking out all the dependencies, all the different submodules. There are submodules of submodules as well you have to be aware of. So when you're cloning any GitHub project for MonoGame, you must make sure that it's a recursive checkout. Now, granted, this at the moment is checking out the development branch. I could have just fast forwarded and targeted the branch that I want, but we're going through this to see all the fun and frolics that can go do those things. So here's our nice and fresh cloned repository, and I'm going to check out let's get on the remote. So we're on the remote branch, and we're going to go for this 3.8.4 Android build. Now, it's not just Android fixes that we've picked out this. There are also a number of iOS fixes, because we thought we might as well clean it all up, have it all ready. And we're going to need to update the submodules to make sure that it's over here. All my windows are going on that screen, not this one. And we'll update, check everything out, make sure it's up to date, and also quickly test and make sure there's no issues there. So we've got this. So, okay, fine. That's there ready. So, technically speaking, I can go and look at MonoGame. I use VS Code. Now, someone did ask in the chat before the stream started. Look at this. Okay. We don't like the music's too loud. Okay, turn that down. Thank you for that, Dean. Doesn't sound loud on this end, but hey ho. And right, okay. So Gary Tibber, I'm not going to answer this yet. We'll come back to this later. So Gary has asked about how to use Visual Studio Code without NuGet. Now, as of the 3.8.5 developed 11 release, we have actually started packaging a binary release. So that's a package you can download, put next to your project, and also then refer to the local DLLs without using NuGet. If we get time towards the end, we're going to quickly go through that and getting on. So there's all MonoGame source. Hopefully you can just make out everything that's in there. And all the fixes and things have gone in from the actual repository. So in here, we've got 4 of the fixes. Now, if we look at these in more detail, we can see here that, where is it? I had it up. I can compare this to the 3.8.4 release. There we go. Because everything's tagged in MonoGame, you can see this. So we've got 4 issues, mainly to do with updates to the build process. We had to use a specific version of .NET. You can actually see this here for doing the build because of some of the changes in the way the .NET build platform works. For more information, there's actually a site already set up for this, and I've got a QR code ready for it as well. So if you want to look at this in more detail, basically they're changing how their .NET platform updates, mainly because Android and iOS move at a different cadence to .NET. So sometimes there needs to be micro updates and things like that. But we can see how much this affects us going forward. But effectively, these are the 4 fixes we pulled out or cherry-picked out of our main development branch, and we actually backport them and put them into our next release. Now, before that we get started on that, let's go right to the command console, and we're going to create a project and prove the fact that there's actually issues there. Oh, no, I want to do. I have no idea what I typed there. Thank you. For some reason, I can't go to command on the web. Right, hopefully that's big enough. There we go. And in here, no, that's not what I want to be. Why are you doing this to me? Let's try that again. No. I'm now clicking on everything. Oh, such fun. There we go. All right, so in here, I'm going to create a new, we're mostly testing Android, but we will also test a full project later. So I'm going to use the MG Android template, and this is going to be my there we go. Oh no, ha! Ooh, no. So there we go, got a project up. Now, if I recall, now I can see here now, I've actually got the develop.12 templates installed now. Now, all that's really going to do is just change some versions on your project that you're actually using. Easy way to fix this. So if I go back to my project that I've just created, and I'm going to open up VS Code, because VS Code is where I like to play. And going here is that you'll notice that the actual project is still using the latest 3.8 release. Now, this is something that usually trips people up, especially if they work in the developer releases, because we have a wildcard in the actual project reference. However, the tools, because they're using the developer releases, are actually using a later version. If these two versions are out of line, you can create your issues trying to open up the MGVC editor, doing content builds. So in all cases, these must align. Now, I'm going to change this not to 12, not to that. No, I'm going to go to 384. And go away. I do not need AI today. Thank you. Conf4. I could just search replay this, but no, it doesn't always work. This lovely intelligence. So that's set at 384 now. Just for argument's sake, and because we're testing the existing release, I'm also going to set these references to 384 as well. So all the project now is going to be building for 384. Now we go to the terminal and we do a .NET build. So as a completed branch project, there's no content to worry about at the moment. We're just testing to make sure the actual project itself builds. This is where I take a drink. Hey Dom, okay, sorry a bit late. Basically today we're doing live coding because we're addressing the actual Android 16 KB fix because of the changing Google Android policies. Probably recommend just looking back at the stream earlier on to see where we're up to. Fortunately, we're lacking a bit. I'm trying to go this up, but I'm not quite at Tom's level of beardage, as it were. Thanks, Dom. Right, okay, so that's built. Now, this is done, and this is what we need to check. Now, there's a lot of complicated information about how this policy applies to projects, but there's an easy-ish way of figuring out what's going wrong. Now, because I've done a build on this project, we get two APKs, which basically is the Android compile project. So if I go into the project, the Android, stop auto-completing it. There we go. I've got the APKs, okay. Now, the Android APK is just a zip file, if you didn't know. So what we need to do is we need to extract it. Now, this is where I keep remembering lack of remembering my PowerShell commands. Right, expand archive. Go back here, and I'm going to see. Sometimes IntelliSense helps. There we go. I'm going to unpack one of the APKs into a folder, and that didn't work. Shock horror. Never trust IntelliSense. And I'm going to no, let's do the other one. And I'm going to do it to a folder. I'm wondering if my dogs are coming over the stream and shouting in the background. Anyway, so we've unpacked it here now, and you've got the actual APK as it stands there set up. And in the lib folder, you'll get usually two projects. We've only got one, right? Why have we only got one? Curious. Anyway, you'll see all these .so files. Now, if I go into this folder, yep. Okay, I go to lib. We can see all of these actual DLL projects here. So let's make this bigger so we can see more. Nope. So we can see all these library files here. Now, I've got I'm going to put the QR code up for this as well. A checker script. Now, this is a PowerShell script, and which is on a nice disk for anyone who actually needs it. And all this is simply going to do is look at all of the items in this folder, and it's going to create me a nice little CSV file which tells me whether they're compliant. Now, the way we identify these files are compliant or not is based upon this. This is a checksum based on the file. Effectively, 0x1000 is not compliant. That's not 16 KB compliant. 04000 is. Now, in this case of, there are a lot of packages which are actually coming from .NET. Now, to update those, they need to actually update to .NET 9 to actually get the latest versions of those. But the one we're worried about or concerned about at the moment is the one that MonoGame itself actually ships, which is, where is it? The OpenAL one, which is not in the list. Haha. I wonder what that is. That worked 5 minutes ago. But anyway, this is what we're here to fix. In 3.8.4, the actual dependencies that we ship are not compliant. So we need to do two things. We need to actually update our client project to .NET 9, and we also need to do a package of MonoGame which actually has the fixed or upgraded version of this package in it, as it were. So anyway, well, there's other things that are going wrong here. Let's just double check, because I did note, or there was an issue or someone noted in the forums related to .NET 9. So if I try and build the MG2D star kit, if you don't wear this template, this is a full multi-platform project which has two kit. I can't type today. So this is a multi-platform project. What do they call it? It's called StarKit. There. Now let's see. This should build. Now this, no. Such fun. Right. Okay. So this is what I was afraid of. So currently our fixes in the actual branch are still working off the base version of .NET 8, but the .NET 8 iOS one is actually out of support. Now, there's two ways we can address this. We can either do what we've done with MonoGame for the build process, because we're still using .NET 8 in the base MonoGame library, but for client projects, there's no reason not to go up to .NET 9. So this, let's see, now check and test. So here's my start kit. Let's go and open up that project. Now again, this is still doing this is actually some development release, which is the same as what we're doing in 3.4. And our iOS project is currently using Net 8. Now, this is about as difficult as it gets to upgrade your project to .NET 9. I'm going to put a 9 in their number. Now, for consistency from testing, I want to make sure all the projects are also using .NET 9. Do that one. It's not essential because it's only iOS that needs to update, but I'm being pragmatic here. See, .NET 9. So there you go. I've just updated my entire cross-platform work to .NET 9. Go my window up. So if I try and build this now, what have I done? I did this earlier. So I've just added a lot of files. Oh look, that's still not saved. Right, close file. Close file. That way that I'm saving it and I'm actually closing it. And off we go. Good, we got rid of the .NET. We got the .NET warning. So that's off from building. But I'm noticing it's going to hit another issue here, potentially. Because if you recall, I'm still using the developer templates, or the project itself is trying to use 3.8.4. If this works, oh, there we go. That's kind of what I expected. Oh no, no, interesting. Okay, so we're actually building on the 3.8.5 release, which has the Android fix in. But this is another side effect. So while we're updating the dependencies, so the dependencies are up to date. Don't need anymore. The Android project is still old. So two of the things that Google require for you to comply with the new policies and updates is one, yes, all dependencies will work and are built against the new 16kb page size, but what we also have to do is we are forced now, for all new projects at least, is that we need a minimum to use the .35 SDK, and we need to set that both in our manifest and also there. So you have to use version 35 in your Android project if you want to build and comply with those policies. That changes the SDK and the NDK APIs that you can actually use to compile and build your project with. That would be included with the project. So now that's another issue. Oh, no. Stop putting a hash in. Why is the hash key so next to the enter key? It's frustrating. Da, 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 da. Go on, build sign. Yay! Good, so it's built. So we can actually, since it's using the fixes that we're actually going to put into our base build, we can go and have a look now. So here's our Android project. We're just going to repeat the same exercise again. As you can see, we've got Net 9 now. We've got an APK, so let's do a view, terminal. So we're in the StartKit Android project. In debug, no, not Net 8, we're in Net 9 now because we're using the 9 one. So we should expect in this now, this is using the previously patched fixes. It's also using the SDK 35, and it's also using an updated project template. Now, given that that iOS warning is also coming up, we should probably be proactive and fix those templates at the same time. So why not? So in here, what we've got the APK. So if you want to, no, stop. Look at this. We've got pop-ups and errors all over the screen. Right. Okay. So when I say see, that's where you got wrong. Right, sign, yes, let's go for the non-signed one. Right. Extract it there, please. Okay. CD com. Yep. Lib. What else? Okay, and then we're going to run our same script. Nice, run it. Okay, and now we can look at this. We're doing the exact same process we did before. We're checking. I'm going to move this over here to make it a bit better. Now, for all these packages, you can see now, these are all using Xerox 4000 as the checksum. So all of these have actually been up to date. Except that, why is that not today? Oh, come on. That is as simple if you're quick to cotton on. Now, obviously, at the moment, you would think we're building with 385, but we're not. We've updated the project, so all our .NET runtime are actually using up to date. But the one library we're concerned about was the one with MonoGame shipping. It's using that, and that's because our project is still building for 384, or using the MonoGame 3.8.4 libraries. Because if you look here, yes, we're still using this. So we want to change this now to use. Okay, we use developed at 12 because this is where the fix is. Right, okay, need to make sure all these are up to date. Oh. 12. Right, okay, so that's up to date, and we want to make sure that these versions are correct as well. Not bothered about the others right now. Right, okay, so we need to go back to the beginning. Let's create a new terminal. Easier. Nice, okay, so now this should at least be building against 385 and all the fun that comes with it. Come on, crank it up. Now, this is one of the things I do like with the Start Kit as well, is that this is giving you a template for a true multi-platform project. There is one core project with all the game code, and then these are 3 platforms are literally just shims. They're just saying, go run the code in the core platform. All of our Start Kit templates and things like that use this. So if you're using an individual project template, that's down to yourself to be able to manage. But anyway, right, we've built. All right, so now we're going to do it all again. So we go back to here. Okay, whoops, no, can't type. So 1620, yeah, that's a brand new package. No, okay, fine. You know what, just delete. Okay. Okay. I just deleted the entire build, didn't I? Go away, build. While that's building, let's have a look around here. Interesting question. Let's go bananas. Well, .NET 9 is not an LTS. .NET 10 is their LTS according to their schedule of release. So 8 was the last LTS. They have then an interim release of bug fixes and maintenance fixes and other things. And then after 2 years, they're going to ship out another LTS. We do get a few questions about why MonoGame, or when will MonoGame move up to .NET 10 to comply with the next LTS. And the simple answer is when it makes sense, because there's no point just rushing to a release in case you incur whatever other options and problems that come with that. But we make sure the case of we move or upgrade when it's prudent. Now, a good example of this is the actual the async library. We updated that. It seemed prudent because there's some changes. There were no major releases, and between 3.82 or 3.83 and 3.8.4 we upgraded the async library. That's partially broken it, not completely, and the fact that now when models are rotated, sometimes they're rotated 90 degrees. Now, thankfully, the workaround for this is to simply in your importer, in your content project, you simply pre-rotate it so that your game works exactly the same way and you're not changing any code. But that created a problem we were not aware of. And there's actually a current issue where the way they seem to build is building models has actually changed, so that it's actually either stripping out or it's merging some faces, because we're seeing differences in the number of vertices and the number of vertexes. Indices and vertexes that is actually being produced once it's been processed. So we're currently investigating that. I'm trying to find another way around it, but this is where the issues occur around these things, about upgrading too fast without knowing the consequences of what's being upgraded. So to protect your equals projects, we only upgrade when we need to or when there's an advantage to. Anyway, right, we're built there again. So we're back here. We're going to repeat our process. So there's our build. So end. Debug 9. No. My typing skills are off today. Okay, and we want to go next. See, does it remember the age? We're going right this time. Okay, lib. Okay, and we run our command again. Oh, in case you're wondering which command, it is this little script we're using, which all it does is interrogate all of these libraries and then tells us if they are compliant or not, which is something you need to check before you then publish to Google and then wait the standard day or so for them to comply test. So now, okay, so there's all the .NET libraries too, and also more importantly, there's the updated OpenAL. Know that the fix that's in 3.8.5 is working. So now we need to make sure we pull that back into 3.8.4, but we also need to address template update. So get rid of that. We're done there. Done there. That can go away. So we need to get these fixes into release, but we also need to update the templates. So MonoGame. Where do MonoGame templates? Right. Okay. Let's revert that. Why are you showing changes? I'm saying there's changes, not. Right, okay. Be on the safe side. Okay, no. Okay. There we go. Oh, we don't need that again now. We're done there. So this is the MonoGame templates repo. This contains all the actual .NET templates for all the different projects. If we look in here, you can see these. We've actually got all the different project templates. Here's what you see in the projects. And in here, we've got the iOS one, which at the moment is defaulting to .NET 8. So we need to update this. So now what we should probably do is we're going to clone this. I could do this for the web interface, but for safety's sake, to make sure I'm not breaking anyone else, I'm going to clone it locally. Now, thankfully, there's actually no submodules for this, so it's a lot easier to deal with. Now, where have we cloned to? There you are. Oh, there's new chat. Oh, there's a dangerous question in this world. Do I use AI? I do for some things, not for others. So it's good for generation. It's good for One of the main things I actually use for the moment is when I'm validating all the new tutorials that are coming in, asking AI to just go through and check and make sure there's no spelling mistakes, make sure there's no common mistakes of like having two capital letters next to each other in a word. It's useful. It's fantastic for checking documentation or generate documentation, provided you don't take it as is. As we all know, AI is very good at hallucinating, and it will make things up. So a handful of salt thrown over the shoulder in regular intervals is always recommended when using AI. I did do a little tutorial series or a little run through of something I do usually biannually, where I try to generate a game with AI, and it's getting better. It's still terrible. It suggests things are wrong, including a long-running argument I had with it about a function that did not exist in MonoGame. But I also tested with things like Unity, with Unreal, and other things, varying different levels of success. One of the things I do like it for, don't tell anyone in MonoGame, but for generating UI toolkit stuff in Unity. You know, I don't like building HTML and CSS, and less so in Unity, but hey ho. So anyway, back to target. Now we want to make the actual .NET templates all not 9. Now there's no issue with doing this, because with all these templates themselves, the client project can be any version of .NET that supports a .NET 8 runtime dependency. MonoGame is compiled in .NET 8. Your project can be .NET 9. You could even run a .NET 10 project. It still supports a .NET 8 assembly. So there's no problem. Your project can be whatever version it is. It's just the DLLs that come with MonoGame will still be at .NET 8. And the whole framework and platform understands that, recognizes it, and works with us now. Okay, so .NET 9. Desktop GL. Go on, you can be .NET 9 as well. And now Android. Now, if you recall, there are two different fixes for Android. Now, for doing the actual fix for Android to make sure the case of the MonoGame DLL updates, we should also ensure, from a respective point of view, to ensure the Android project also defaults to those things that are required for the policy. So that means updating to 35 SDK is the minimum. I mean, there's obvious reasons why Google are trying to do this. Right, I'm going to close all these to make sure I've saved them. And then the CS project, we want to use .NET 9. But also we need to make sure, yes, hey, IntelliSense, you recognize I'm updating the versions to .NET 9. Right, now that should be all we need to do. Oh, the start kits. I have to go back and do this on the start kit. So manifest, I'll change that to 35. 35, thank you. Not in the solution, that's the CS proj. Going to be .NET 9. Now I could just do a global place, but practice has told us, especially when we're dealing with a multi-platform project, and now the way things work, is be more prescriptive. Search replace in a project this large and the size is dangerous. You don't necessarily know exactly what you're updating, but doing a search after the fact to make sure that you have updated anything, so you've not missed anything, is good. But just a global search replace generally is not a good idea, at least in my experience anyway. Someone can ask Tom in the next stream what his feelings are about global search replace. Usually it's if it's error message or warnings. So desktop.gl, iOS, especially iOS. Now it needs to be on .NET 9. Yeah, we're leaving all the rest the same. That's all those. That's the start kit. And let's see, we've not took the blank start kit. So the start kit comes in two flavors. There's one which has the platformer game built into it. So there's a full game, full content, audio, graphics, lots of things all built in, so you can just build it, run it, it works. It's also good for us because we then have a project we can instantiate at build time, and which is what we do now in our build processes. We updated them to ensure that, thank you, that when we're doing builds of MonoGame in the backend libraries, we're also checking that these packages still build. So any change you make, any update you make, all through the build process, we actually build the NuGets. That gives us early advance warning to make sure we're not actually broken something else. Now, it doesn't run them, it only builds them. So we make sure the fact that they can compile. So things like this Android issue wouldn't show up, unfortunately. Let's see, 935. Now I need to concentrate, make sure I get all these updated. See, it's not all sunshine and roses and sitting on a beach and drinking beer while working on MonoGame. We also have to do the grunt work of making sure that everything is up to date. Oh, I'm going to mark your question for later, Gary. Or Dean, if you're still on, if you could potentially get to answer to Gary about animating skin models, because there are two different ways in the new 3D platformer project. It's not actually a skin model; it's actually using vertex animation. Dean, you can correct me if I'm wrong there. Oh yes, Dean is quite good to point out that one thing in MonoGame we don't use is any AI. There's no AI in builds. There's no. If we use them in personal projects or other work projects, yes, but in MonoGame itself or MonoGame projects, we don't. It's such a real case of we make sure the fact that the human is always looking after this and making sure that MonoGame itself is up to date and safe. We use it sometimes for tools, for checking, but no AI is building MonoGame. So thanks for pointing that out, Dean. And what else we got questions going on there? Okay, that's all done. Right, back on target. Now content builder. Oh, no, okay, now that's interesting. Why is that complaining now? Yes, you may see this project, but why are you complaining? Because oh wow, that template was actually broken. Okay, fine, plus space in it. I do need to come back and update this template, but I don't want to do it now because a few things have changed. So if you look at, if you're actually on Patreon, so let's throw this up for fun. There we go. We always welcome help and support on the game, especially financially, but keeping it going. But if you are a supporter of MonoGame, you'll have advanced access to some of the samples and things we've got on. So there's the 3D Ascent sample. I've got a QR code for that. There we go. I did have it. There it is. You've got the Ascent sample, which is our full 3D and major project, which is currently in the works, and also our Kenny 3D samples, which are the 3D platform, the 3D FPS project. They're all using this new content builder system. If you're not sure or aware of it, I suspect you need to go back to one of the open house sessions which talks about it. We're hoping to do a big series on this, but effectively this is replacing the old MGBC editor, which even people at the foundation are not fans of these days because it's old, it's deprecated, it needs replacing. But effectively, the content builder is a new project-based way of building content. No editors, no GUI, just code. And although this template exists, we've moved on since then. So this was our first stab at building this out. You can look at it on the template or build a template if you want. But things have slightly changed. We've changed how these commands work, and we've changed how some of these things work, and also in the structure of this project. Now, I'm going to update that now because that was actually broken. Considering that was me who created that, that was bad, Simon, bad pass, Simon. But I do need to come back and update that. But that's for 3.85, not 3.84. But we can build, yeah. A library project. Yes, let's do that to 9 as well, and also pipeline extensions. Yes, they should be 9 as well. But just make sure we update everything uniformly to make sure that nothing is going to come up crop. Now, this one will have to defer. Actually, this one, I don't know. This is me asking for help. Because the shared lab was an old Xamarin concept of building another way of having a shared library like a class project for sharing code between solutions. Now, this was really only valid for Android, iOS, and UWP projects, but we deprecated UWP some time ago, and I don't think these support .NET 9, so I'm going to leave that alone for now. But I suspect these are not even supported anymore. Anyway, something to contemplate later on. I'm not even going to dignify that with an answer, bananas. So I'm making strange aspirations about AI overlords and what they can do for us. No, I'm not going there. Oh, okay. No, I don't leave that. Any road, right. Okay, music is still playing. Okay, so that's all our projects going, but we must basically let's close all these now. We will still, from a convenient state, look and make sure that nothing is using Net 8. A cursory glance then through all the change files we've got. If you don't be, yeah, a comment from Tom on shared libraries is that, yeah, you use wildcards and plug things. We could probably think about deprecating that shared library at some point, probably within 3.8.5, but that's not critical. 3.8.4 is still there as a live thing. It's something we'll review later. So checking through everything and change to make sure there's no typos. Net 8.3.5, 3.5.3.5. And anyone spot a typo, shout out in the stream. Yeah. Right. Okay. So double checking. Five, 9, 9, 5. Right. Okay. That should be all the templates. Fix that one. 9 and 9. So that's looking good. Now, I should have done this already. Now we must make sure that. Okay. Nice, useful commit message. One thing you'll see we're trying to do a lot of within the framework itself is that we'll try to put meaningful names into the commit messages and things. If you're contributing to MonoGame, which we love people to do, when you're doing your pull requests, make sure that both your commit messages and also your pull requests have a meaningful name. It's something easy to point out because it helps them when we're building the change log to actually have that meaningful name in there. And let's get more credit because then we're not having to change the name to make it more up to date. Now, Now, is this the template project? The build for this should be quite quick. So we've done a thing, we've all pushed up, that's up there. Right, so I have several windows open, so I want to make sure that I'm not clicking into the wrong one here. So it's going now. As you see here, all the work we do in MonoGame is all bound by automation. If you're ever really curious and you want to have a bit of fun, I did do a course on automation. All the automation commands you want to see are all here. So you can see here when we're doing this, all we're doing is make sure we're updating the version of .NET, make sure 9 and 8. Can probably drop. Well, think about dropping .NET 8 from 3.8.5, and then we build and package them and update them if they are released. So let's go back here. Waiting for this to complete. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do to wait for that. And so it's in, and then we need to merge it. And then what we need to do then is go back into the base repo within this actual request to update all the other libraries to then update the checkout. And it's an interesting thing. So whether you're familiar or not with how Git works, is you have all the code in your base repository, and any code that's not in your repository is in another one. We have what's called a submodule, and what we're linking to is a specific point in time in another code base for how that code works. So if you're just updating another repository doesn't change the code in the one that depends upon it. You have to actually tell it, right, move from here to here, which is what we'll do. But while we're waiting, there is new chat over here. If you're wondering, I've got a very wide setup here, so my screen with all the chat is over here. But what I probably should do is I should put it over here. There. And there we go. Thank you, Tom. Okay, so come on, get up. What's going on? Oh, it's that moment when you click on it and it's done. Okay, now normally most requests we need verification from one of all the members, but in this case I'm going to bypass and just merge this because it's just updating templates. Yep, and delete the old branch, and there go null templates. If I look at the base repository, these are all it's now saying updated .NET 9. And let's make sure that's the one we care about right now. The Android one is using .NET 9 and 35, and the iOS project is also using .NET 9. Good. Technically speaking, we should also update that, but that's down to a preference. It's not something Apple enforce or control. The version of iOS that you deploy to that you want to support is a personal preference for yourself because of how it changes the whole project and how it works. So that's our templates up to date. But back in our main, so here's our branch in MonoGame. And I look at the branch that we're doing. Okay, this checkout here, so this is our submodule, is still pointing to the old point in time for those templates. So if I look at this now, oh no, why is that doing that? Yeah, so I'll go to the same checkout. Yes, Neo, the one, he must be around. Anyway, let's go into our base repo here. Make sure we are still on there. I would like to pull again just to be sure. Submodules, yeah. Okay. And in here, the extension. So why is that pointing to there? Yeah, Dean, in testing I set it to 35 because if I set to 31 to 21, it complained and wouldn't let me build. Oh, it's something I can come back and check on to later. Why is that pointing to there? This is curious. Closure, go back to here. No. Well, this is where we start thinking a bit. Now I'm double checking my colleagues here now because this is the Visual Studio extension. This is me being confused. I don't know that anymore. Hi, Summer. Welcome to the stream. We'll look at doing live coding within the actual MonoGame framework. We're actually trying to get a new release out today to address the Google 16 KB policy change, as well as a few other updates. Oh, interesting. Oh, that looks different. Okay, momentary confusion because let's have a look at the history in case I'm mistaken something here now. This could just be me having a momentary moment, which would not be the first time. So I thought that was the extensions folder, so okay, so oh, well, that's when we moved it out. Okay, so Welcome to the lovely build automation that is your MonoGame. So, setup, tag release. No, that does appear to be right. This is where we get lost. So we do need to make sure these are up to date. Ah, thank you, Dean, my saviour. It's in a different folder. See, yes, it used to be within the templates folder, but is now, as Dean's pointing out to me, in the external templates folder there. Right, so that's what I need to check out. So, sorry. Back on track. There we go. So yeah, as you can see, this is the current checkout. Hold on, no, we need to go back to MonoGame. We want to go to our current branch because this is the branch we're actually changing for this release. So 3.4. This is our fix release with our fixes in for the 16KB fix, which is arguably only updating the OpenAL library, which is the only dependency we ship. But there is also a few iOS fixes in here because of how the iOS APIs changed and MonoGame had to reciprocate, which was also found out in our upcoming mobile tutorial. I should say, if you want to know more or learn more about MonoGame, there's a nice little QR code there. It goes to our Learn site. That tells you all the documentation, all the tutorials and things are there. And stay tuned for more content coming soon. There's my sales pitch done. Sales. Right, so we're in our branch. If we go here now, these templates are kind of this checkout here. This is a char or hash of the actual checkout in the templates repo. And if we look here, this is still using the original templates. So we need to update this before we try and ship a release out. So, okay, so let's go to Android. I can see it's still using Net 8, not the version we want. So, right, again, because I triple check everything, we are using this branch. We are definitely synced and using it. Yes. So, going to here, and what we're going to do, I'm going to do the way I prefer to do it, which is using Visual Studio Code, which I think I should already have open. Where is it? Yes, I moved it onto a different screen. So not in templates, but external monogame.templates. And I'm going to go and update the checkout for that. So there it is, monogame.templates. Currently using this. And we want to update it to the one we've just literally done. Looks like someone else has got an interesting fix on there as well. So don't put a change in to ensure that you use the viewports of the base screen. Okay. So there we go. So now if I look at this, So, sorry, I'm having a quick discussion with one of the foundation members, Dean, who's pointing out that although I have just updated the default in the moment, or the minimum, to 35, which is, as I understand it, is the actual mandated minimum requirement for the Google policy. You can change this in the template, so you can change the minimum to whatever you want. You control your release process now it's going around. But we're just having we're always having a discussion within the foundation as well for any change and what it's doing to ensure that we all agree with how it's compliant. Right. Yep. 2, okay. New ticket. No. Needs to support. Okay, so yeah, there we go. Nice little update on the stream there to make sure that for those who are just joining us now, we are updating MonoGame, the current release. Interesting. Yeah, Dean's postulating an interesting that the way he reads the Google policy is that the target SDK needs to be 35, but not necessarily the minimum, which requires going to update the templates again. Now we can test this. So we had our test project. So there's a nice, lovely debate around what the minimum SDK version should be. So where is our there? So in here we've got our project. I'm going to manifest. No, that is not the right project. That's an old one I've been playing with. Right, date modified. There's my newest one. Close all those. Okay, so what we're saying is that the target version, as mandated by the policy, should be 35, but we're debating whether the 21 things. So if I do that now, will it build? There's your answer, Dean. No. If I put the min SDK down, it won't build, because the supported platform OS version, which is the target of 35, does not allow it, unless I'm missing something. Well, ho hum. Right. That's right. Square balance has got some detail as well. Okay, we'll try 29. So interesting squares, because if you've got 21 as your minimum and target is 35, what do you have set as the? Oh, actually, that's your. Ah, I see. You're changing yours in the actual project, not in the manifest. Okay, so anyway, let's try this. So that's not working. So maybe. So supported, but set that down to 21. So my minimum is 21. Save, or which save? We're testing here to make sure we're compliant. So okay, so that works. So yes, it's only in the target manifest then potentially that it needs to be 35. I think Dean suggested it was 21 originally. Thankfully, for the power of Git, we can go check. Okay, so look at my commit. And we changed it from, oh no, it was 29. Dean, you're right. So I think we'll change that on this back a bit later, but in this case of brevity and time, because we've been here for an hour now, we still haven't done a build yet. And the build takes a while. So in our project, if we set this to 29, which was the default before, manifest is minimum is 29 there, target is 35. Shall we save, do a build? Okay, yeah, so we're going to revert back that change because that does build. So, just means more time for me. Close you. And this time I'm just going to do it direct to main because we're just doing a minor correction now. So to specific files. So that I'm going to do to 29. I'm going to CS proj. I'm going to do 29. We will double check everything before we commit. Manifest 29 CS proj 29, and then in the blank start kit Android 29 there. So in here, change 29. No, we're doing it right. We're doing a reset. Nice. Invariably, we don't do this, but for the sake of brevity. Wait for that to build and complete. There shouldn't be any issues with that building now. So we'll go back and update our checkout again. Go back to here. And there. So I should also include this change. Change back to 29. Right, so that's our templates up to date. So we are one step closer. So in our that's templates. Now back into the MonoGame base. Still making sure we're on this list. We've updated the checkout. Ooh. Okay. Now, this isn't the end of the story yet. So we've now got the code and everything else in place, but Locally, one thing we have to make sure we do is we actually can build MonoGame. Now, there is a fair amount to do this to get set up, which I can very quickly walk through. No, I don't want to do that. Right, so as I said before, the workflows here, this shows you how we build MonoGame as a core. Thank you, Samuel. We appreciate your support there. We need to have some little things when there's new supporters, but hey ho. But thank you. So in here, this walks through if you want to build from source and you want to build your own projects. Now, if you don't want to, someone asked earlier about whether or not they could actually not use NuGet. Let's bring this question back up. Right, it was right back at the beginning. There we go. So Gary asked, how can we're doing Gary did 2 questions main thing. So how can you use MonoGame from source or from binaries? Now, MonoGame provides the 2 ways of doing this. One, which I'll show you right now, which is actually how you can build all the MonoGame libraries locally and just use the source. You can also just clone the repository and then reference the projects. That can although can create issues because of all the dependencies and the way they're packaged. It can take a lot more to get set up. The safest way is that in each release now, and we can show you here in the latest release. So if I go to why are you getting that? No, because I'm navigated to it. Go back to MonoGame, please. Back to MonoGame. There we go. Back to MonoGame. So in the MonoGame releases, so here we can see there's the latest MonoGame 3.8.4 release. That's the current public release, which we're going to supersede today. We can see here the fact that in the developed releases, we now also include the actual binaries release. So this is where we package up all of MonoGame, all of the binaries, all the dependencies into one quick small package. If there's time at the end of the stream, which the rate we're going, but probably not, we might have to do it again another day. You can download this package, put it relative to your project, and there is instructions in there for also then how to then reference the local binaries rather than using the NuGet, which means it's all offline, it's all safe, but we will come back and do that again another time. Anyway, we need to get on. So in this automation file, this gives you all the instructions you need for how to set up your machine to actually use and build MonoGame. So let's get rid of that now. So in here you can see the fact that we're actually setting up .NET. We set up some Android dependencies. If you're building for Android, that is mainly just .NET Workflow install Android. There's also .NET Workflow install iOS, Maui, a few others, or you can install them all. Depends what you're building. You can see the commands are here. So that on Windows, we install Android and iOS. On Linux, we just install Android. And on Mac, we install everything, and also iOS and macOS. macOS only because we'll need the native stuff from Mac to actually build. We do some paths. Now, there's also a new tool called Premake. It's an exe. You simply go to Premake. Where is it? If you search for Premake, you'll find it. It's one exe. You need the specific version to be able, that you need to actually download it, and then have that registered in your path or in your environment so that it's accessible when you call it, because the MonoGame build process will look for and call Premake when it's doing setup processes. We also need Java, mainly because of iOS and some Android build things. So just make sure you have the latest Java SDK installed. We, at a minimum, use it 17. As of late, if you're doing 3.8.4, you don't need this. But in 3.8.5, we're also installing Vulkan. You need the Vulkan SDK to be able to build MonoGame, and you'll see why as we build it out. And then there's some environmental setup things. Now, the full instructions of this is all on the MonoGame documentation site. Let's see, there's the packaging guide. I found this before. Let's develop NuGet packages. Lots of information on here if you've not used it before, like how you can package and build it for your project, packaging the consoles. And if I used my memory correctly, there is this whole getting to know MonoGame section, where all there's the what is articles like what's graphics, what's pipelines, what's sprite batch, what's building, all of that stuff. But also we've got a lot of these how-to sections, and here down here we've got that's the preview packages. Oh well, I've forgotten where that doc is. I shall get that and put it anywhere else. Oh, of course, it's in the setup guide. I would sometimes forget where my head is screwed on. If you're using a Mac, all the instructions for setting up your Mac are all included here. If you're setting up a Linux, there is also some variants now for Arch Linux and Ubuntu. Thanks to our community supporters for that. Aristotle once in support submitted this new Arch Linux getting setup guide. Yes, Tom likes to cook it straight from source all the time, every time. I'm still trying to get him to use binaries. Well, he prefers source because he likes to tinker things. There's all the rest of the starting guides, as well as our Premiere Getting Started guide. And for those who need a quick link for how to get to the actual Getting Started guide, where is it? There. If anyone's interested in how you get started, there's a QR code for how to get it started in documentation. This takes you through everything, how to create a project, how to build it, all the code, all the classes, animations. There's too much to go into it now. Anyway, we digress. Back to the code. So, if you're on Mac, we set up Mac. If you're on Linux, we set up Linux. If you're on Mac or Linux, you also need to install Arial, because a lot of the tests use the Arial font, mainly because of XNA. Because of XNA, we need Arial. All the samples don't use Arial anymore; they use Roboto because it's a much more open font, because Arial is licensed to Microsoft. Anyway, we also install templates, but then we get down to this is the critical command now. This is how we build MonoGame. There's one command. We use a process called Cake, and Cake has frosting, and developers like to name things. But anyway, if I now go to my terminal, and within the MonoGame system, I go and simply run this command. Now, if you have set up anything right, this will just work. And okay, we'll expand this now so you can see this in operation. And you can see how this builds the entire cross-platform framework that is MonoGame. There is tons in here. We've just had a load of work to sort of cut down on some of the errors and warnings we're getting, mainly because how frameworks have updated, how platforms have updated, how APIs change. You get warnings, get concerns, get some deprecated warnings and things like that. So we've just had a massive clear out for that, which will be in the final 3.8.5 release or just after, because that changed a lot of how projects work. So we don't want to put too much in there, and things sometimes are just how they are. While this is building and while we're watching this going on, if you're willing or able to contribute to MonoGame, everything's on the donate page from the MonoGame website. Anything's welcome. By supporting MonoGame financially, you also get early access to all of our previews, all of our new samples, the advanced tutorials that are coming. You'll get early access to those. We're building Windows DX at the moment. We've done Desktop GL, we've done Android, we've done all the native things. Oh, that's good to see. This takes a bit of time, especially if you're running it locally. And we've missed something. So why are we building? What's failed? Now this didn't fail earlier, so why is this failed? Curious. Now this again is the area we were addressing with the actual templates. We've updated from. In fact, that shouldn't happen because Yes, let's use an SDK9. We're building for .NET 8. Because that's something only going to affect me locally because I'm using the actual local workload. So I shouldn't affect the actual thing as well. Ironically, when I ran this earlier today, this did not fail. In fact, we're using the developer it didn't fail, so there must be something. Yes, it's good, and this is the update .NET version that we rely on for doing the server-based builds. We fix it to that. But for building this locally, it's not working. Anyway, let's check online. Because we did our change, we pushed them up while I'm building locally. The server has not been asleep. If we look up here now, oh, we haven't created a pull request for this yet. No, it won't build because I'm not on a pull request. Oh, I don't want to do a pull request. Let's test and check this online. Even all pull requests, even if they're a draft, will still build and do automation. And we're simply doing this now, so we can actually run the automation on the back-end server to make sure that compiles. He says. Oh, why? Best laid plans. You should be building. No, you're not building because there's merge conflict, so no. So we can't do that. So we need to figure out. Well, no, don't delete the branch. That'd be good fun. So, because this is effectively an orphan branch we're building just for this one fix, everything needs to be kept separate. So, for this, okay. So the only thing we're going to need to do then in here. No. I love when these things just work. So, then I have to do tag. One. So what this is actually going to do in the MonoGame world is this should now automate, because we've now tagged a branch or release, this will kick off an automation that will actually then build this preview release. I'm not too concerned that it's failing locally because that's something to do with the actual .NET update. But there we go. So a special part of automation, and obviously only select members of the foundation can actually do this. We actually can tag and push a tag up to a repository, and that is what kicks off the release. This is now going to go off and build, and if we wanted to, we can go and sit and watch this. And this has failed spectacularly. Why are we failing on this? Submodules, those should not fail. Brilliant. Why is he using that on a 384 cherry pick branch? Let's have a look at our modules. Let's go. So they shouldn't be there. Yeah. They're listed there. But those shouldn't be there for this build. Range, so why is the checkout failing? Guess that. Oh, right. Sorry. No. Okay. Right. Okay. So, bit of a history lesson. When you have a project as large as MonoGame and you have this many dependencies, one of the really tricky balancing acts you have is what if someone changes or breaks or removes that dependency. Now, there's several ways to handle this and what we need to do. But when 3.8.4 was released, the Vulkan work was in this repository that you can see on screen, LunaG. They moved it, which then created a problem for anyone else who was dependent on Vulkan. So all the people having issues with Vulkan. Yeah, Vulkan won't build if you don't have the Vulkan SDK installed. I found that out to my pain. Anyway, right. So we have a minor issue still in our offshoot branches. There's another fix that was done in 3.8.5 developed, which was to update these submodules, which is why it's failing. Right. So we go back to here. So if we look at now the base MonoGame branch, and we now go and look at the modules, we can see the differences here. So if I pull this up, and I pull this up, now I can't just edit the file because Git does not allow you to do that. And you can see here now. Now we don't need this because that's new to let's do this. Come on, come in there, and I want my notepad there. So okay, now game control, that's the same. That's our path. What we care about these ones, which on the remote repo. So as you can see here, the Vulkan memory allocator, this one. So this has changed to this. Let's check to make sure nothing else is broken here. So now I'm going to look at this in VS Code because it's going to be a lot easier. Where are you? In modules, there we go. I'll put this there. I'll get rid of this window. Right. Okay, they're all there. So anyway, Control D. Thank you. Yes, Control D. I clicked on the window. So Control DB is going to, in fact, hold on. Let's just go back to the actions. What failed? They're the two modules we need to look at. So, Windows, we cloned and we failed on the Vulkan memory allocator. In fact, the only one. It failed so badly it told us twice. Ugh. So now we haven't even built MonoGame yet, but we're learning lots. So yes, that is the only checkout that needs to change. So now not those files because we don't want them, but we do need to update them. Update. No, I wonder if that was why it was. No, don't explain why it failed locally. Okay. Right. Right, now I need to have more fun. I need to forcibly update this because we need to change the checkout point. No. All right. Automation, go. If I can go in and check on one of these now. Cloning, cloning, cloning. Watching the paint, that is automation running. There we go. My memory didn't fail me now because of the wild world that is automation and how it runs. Okay. How are we doing it here? Oh, still live, still streaming. And going on. I can get rid of that now. So, while we are building, there we go. We're actually building. So this is now the MonoGame automation process going along, and this is actually going to now do what I've just done locally, which is recompile all the MonoGame framework for all the different platforms. There's a lot of things that go in and out and back and to, and how they work, and then they're going to eventually bundle everything up. We'll do a lot of NuGet testing, and then it will actually release all the packages for us to be able to use. Now, thanks to this process, now we can go and then test this preview package once it's live. But I said that is going to take a while. And as we're almost coming up on 2 hours, we may need to cut it there and pick it up for test. I did not anticipate that taking so long to get that done. All the hoops and things, but you can get to see the behind the scenes of then. This is how we build MonoGame. There's lots of checks, there's lots of balances, a lot of validations, a lot of things going on. So while that's building, is there anyone, if there's anyone still online, is there any other questions anyone's got for what they're building and or any other questions they've got? So we look back here. Let's see. We answered all the questions. Hi, Asama, for joining. I see a question from Tom and Eric a while ago asking to update text size. Going through. So while the automation is running. Okay, so sneak peek and almost short worthy, I guess. Let's have a quick bit of fun with MonoGame binaries release. Since I can't do anything now while that's building, and we've got 20. I'd say about 20 minutes left, and then we'll cut it short, cut it there, because 2 hours for a stream is a long time. Okay. I'm going to create a standard desktop GL build, which by default is going to use the NuGet. It's also going to use the actual develop release. That's the template I've got installed. No, let's not do that. There we go. Okay, Scott, so you're trying to run pre-make and it's coming up saying failed to start MS build. You shouldn't need to have hard-coded paths, or hard-coded pre-make. Pre-make simply needs to be in your path statement somewhere, so that if you open up a new terminal on your environment screen or new command window, and you type pre-make, it finds it. As long as that works, pre-make should be found. It just needs to be accessible, because when you're running the build process, it's in a different place. And sometimes you're not actually calling build from the root directory, it's actually calling it within the build directory or in the working path the way it's doing it. So once it's built, we can show you here. You create this artifacts folder. And if you're doing from source, then here are all the MonoGame libraries. So there's the release Android build, there's the native builds. Oh look, there's Vulkan, amongst other things. And also, interestingly, all the NuGet packages as they get built. So you can play and test with those. If the build had worked fine, I would have been able to use that for test, but we used proper automation and do the build on there. But anyway, right, so I have my project, and I'm going to go to test, finalize release. I'm going to open it up. Okay, so there's my project, and if I check, okay, I'm going to be safer here and just say, right, okay, 31384. 4, 4, 4, 4. There we go. Right, you takes that build, make sure it works. Right, okay, it works. Well, that's using NuGet. So I've got NuGet in my project, and I've got NuGet for the tools, as it were. Granted, with the content builder, we can get rid of that, but we're not doing that now. So, if right, where's MonoGame? So MonoGame, I forgot to my releases. Okay, we go to the latest one, which actually has the binaries in it. Here it is. Okay, and I'm going to download this. It's only 250 meg. I'm going to put it into, let's see, MonoGame test binary release. And I'm just going to put it in here for the argument's sake. Why is downloading sometimes never as good as it could be? But we all know. So, okay, now to the folder, I'm going to extract it to just a folder there. Make life easier. Right, now I will so in here now in this binaries release, we've got all the actual MonoGame.framework DLLs for Android, desktop DL, everything else. We also, more importantly, and this what is difficult to get from source, actually all the pre-built runtimes. So this includes all the native libraries we need for like OpenIL, SDL. This is everything you need for MonoGame to run it locally with no external inference. Okay, now what I need to do, it's still a task of myself, is to properly document this. So, but if I go to here and look for the binaries SDPR from when I actually released this, and we have packaging. Here is all the unofficial documentation for how you would configure this. Now, because you're using the binaries, you're not using any target files, you're not using any NuGet or any other dependencies. There's a few extra little things you need. First and foremost, you need is the platform that you're running on. So you need to tell the framework what platform you're doing, and also you need to tell it where these binary files are located. This way we don't convolute all your projects. So if I go to my thing here now, my project's there. So if I go and open my project now, and I'm going to put in these two things. So I'm saying this is a desktop GL build. I'm building for desktop GL. And then, okay, right, we're in a folder called MonoGame, that one. No, I didn't copy. Hold on. Copy. And paste. There we go. Now, in any kind of situation when your project is trying to locate the binaries from your project, it has to be a relative project to the actual place where it's installed, which is why we need this actually MonoGame binary spot. This is where the project's building to, and then you're walking back from there. So we have the build file, actually the build directory where it is, and then what we're actually not to, we're going back. Just whoops, don't do that. Going back one. Don't need anything in chicken else, but we do need to change these. So if we go back to our instructions, so that gives us the actual variables we need to actually find it, and then what we need to do here is we need to actually put the references into. Now, if I remember rightly, here it is. To two things. Okay. Because this is what NuGet does for you when you're actually packaging it. And I'm still going to, at the moment, for argument's sake, I'm still going to use this content builder task. Okay, well, I'm going to replace this. So technically speaking, I'm still going to use the content builder task. Now, the only reason we have not provided binary for this is because in reality, you won't need that anymore. Once you go to the content builder solution, you don't need that. But what we have here now are two references. One is going to the actual native library, and one is going to the actual platform library for MonoGame. And the reason these two are different is because this is how MonoGame is changing now. So we're actually using more native access to all the binaries and DLLs and things that are in there. And what this is using is this new variable we've set up, so that we don't need to mess around with this. And we're getting the actual MonoGame framework DLL from the MonoGame framework. So, oh, no, I've got it here. So in the framework, and we've actually got for the platform we're defining, so which is desktop GL, and then we're going for this DLL. That will also identify what other kind of dependencies we want, and then we need to make sure we have a reference to the native runtimes for this. So in the runtimes folder for the desktop GL, it's on Windows. We're going to use the x64 runtimes. So this is going to look for the OpenAL libraries and the SDL2 libraries, effectively replacing what NuGet's doing in the project. Now, if I've got this path correct, which invariably sometimes I don't, this is now converting my project to actually using the binaries instead of NuGet. So let build, and it's worked. And now I can do let run, and now this isn't using NuGet. This is actually using the binaries release. And come on, fantastic! I love it when a plan works. That didn't run. Why is that not run? Let's find out why this is not run. Why are you not running? Because reasons. Come on, why have you... Oh, that's just fantastic. Why is that not working? Why are you not working? Okay. I break, so technically that should be broken. Let's go away. Okay, you should fail. No, you worked. Now that's not confusing at all. Huh. Okay, let's have a look at this project in Visual Studio. That should give me a better understanding of why we're failing. Nope, dependencies. We've already got that, and assemblies, MonoGame, and we can. It's going off the screen. Over here. Over here. MonoGame test by release. Well, that's not right. Why do you say content pipeline? MonoGame framework, why? Let's clean this, because as this... Okay, so what is going on here? Okay, why was I clean? You know, go away. Oh, actually, this is the first time I've actually put that in within the project. I wonder if that's actually affecting it. Okay, you'll see a building. Oh, this is a first. I've never seen this before. Let's try move view. Up here. Last point. How is our build doing? Oh, still building. Nope. Hey, that's always good. That's always a good sign when the main automated build runs. So that means that the actual main build tasks, which also run the .NET tests, are all now compiling and building. Right. So that's working. Where are you? Now, what is going on here? Oh, we'll delete that now, so we don't need. Right, okay. So we learn things new every day, so don't put the binaries release inside the project folder, because for some reason it will screw everything up. Excuse my French. Right. And I've also got the paths right, because that's known as the yep, because that's going in, it's in the test folder. That's the path. Framework test.jl. So that it's always good to test and know if your path's right in open in Visual Studio, and it shows where the actual path to the project is. Okay, so if I run this now, well, I've learned something new to not put. There we go. So now that's running, not using NuGet. It's actually running on the local binaries release. Now, here's where you can get funky. The only difference between, granted, this is not going to work, but we can do it anyway. Once you're using the binaries release, you can have some fun, because in this binaries release, even in the version, whoops, actually no, this will work. I tell a lie. So we can't see it there now. So let's go back to here, and we've got our binaries release. So in here we've got the framework. We've got Android, Desktop.jl. We also have Vulkan. And it's a build version of Vulkan. Now you'll notice it use the native DLL, and also it's got in, there's the native library, which we're already referencing. And if we look at, let's see, so that's our build still running. We don't need that anymore. Okay. Anyone familiar with MonoGame samples will know this repo. No, I don't. No, I don't want to look at things from our good as well secretary Dominic. There we go. And here, and if we look at the collisions library, for those who are astute, I may have not looked at one of our shorts recently where we premiered Vulkan. This was the sample I was running Vulkan, and this is actually using the binaries release. I think he merged it. So if I look at the Vulkan, and you'll see here, this is the exact same way we're doing it now. We're having a reference to the native library, and we're having a reference to the Vulkan because we're saying we're desktop.vk. So all we need to do, if you look at this, is now if I go over to here and actually say, okay, instead of desktop.gl, I want to use desktop.vk. I'm now running Vulkan. Wow, that was difficult. The only thing that really changes is, if I double check on when I did this last time, is the actual dependencies. Is I'm not using the dependency libraries, I'm actually now using the actual native package. Which I should have been using. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make my life easier. I'm just going to copy this over. There we are, that one. So all I'm using is the base native library, which is the shared native implementation, and I'm also now using the new Vulkan library. And if we go to, let's see, and not that I can actually prove it to you. Come on, come to life. There we go. That's now running Vulkan. That's simple. Changing it over, change some library, change the dependencies, and just like that. Now, if I wanted to, I could actually go and even change this to. Now, again, I'm going to have to change this back over here. Say I don't want desktop.vk, say I want Windows. because in the modern .NET templates, it's the same project style. So, but we're not using the Linux. Where are we? Are those the same dependencies? No, that's desktop GL. Windows DX release. Oh no, it's just a Windows DX one, so that's all we need on there. So Windows. Framework dealer, and then it's been a while, so try this one. So that's in the no, we do need that later one. Do actually need those other dependencies. Oh no, it's all relative, so let's see what happens. It's been a while since I've tried this one. Are they gonna, whoop, no. What didn't we like? Oh, right, okay, sorry. Minor source issue. The platform for Windows DX is Windows, but we build the binaries as Windows DX. So I should really try and solve that. Oh, no, we didn't like that one. Oh, because we need to do it here as well. If for any reason it says can't find it, there we go. I've noticed I'm getting very dark in now. And that didn't work. Most likely because I've not got the dependencies set up. So now, like I say, I need to work on the documentation for these binary releases and how they work and what they're in there. And yeah, that's just not, that doesn't like me at all. But in theory, you change the reference around, use the binary release, and that's what you will get. So anyway, let's check on our build. I don't think it's going to have finished yet. What are we doing? No, still been. Windows is always the one that takes the longest. So I think we'll cut it clean there. Thanks to everyone for joining, and hope you enjoyed seeing behind the scenes and also seeing some other things going on and other fun stuff they can play with, including a little sneak peek of how you use the binaries library for fun. But anyway, there we go. As you can see, here in the UK now it's now 6 o'clock and it's going dark. But we try. So hopefully now that this build will finish. And just in good fashion, in case of, unfortunately, it didn't. Windows has failed its build. So I will have to come visit, find out why. Why has that failed? It's failed with no error. Why is Windows failing of all things? It looks like, no, okay, fine. This looks like it's actually just timed out. So it's been running for so long, and occasionally the Windows build book. This is running the cloud hosted or hosted servers, which are free for public. If you're using GitHub and your repository is Git and it is public, you have free access to all this automation. If you're running private, then you have to pay, or you have what we have as well. We have self-hosted boxes, which is a box that's set up. And if you want information about that, you can always ask. So we're going to rerun the failed. We're going to rerun the failed one, and I shall check on that later. But anyway, now again, this has been a fun ride. Hopefully we'll get some shorts and things out of it, and hopefully you'll see Tom tomorrow or over the weekend doing some more coding, and we'll see how things go. So for me, 2 hours in, it's a good night.